All right, to our first interview, though. Monday, the Prime Minister comes out of Cabinet with the local government minister, Simeon Brown, and they announced something they promised, and that is part of the 100-day plan, and that is the repeal of Three Waters legislation. One of the most talked about reforms of the Labor government, and one that I think it would be fair to say played quite a part in Labor's defeat at the polls. Three Waters would have established a brand new bureaucracy split into, I can't remember, was it 10 water authorities, all with their own chief executive officers, all with their own bureaucracies, and a bit of co-governance thrown in just to really anger people who believe in democracy. It appeared to be co-governance, well, not quite so much by stealth, and for some reason it was going to create a panacea and universally solve issues we have with water infrastructure, which has been underfunded for many years in this country in some areas. I must say others are fine. And supposedly stop people drinking bad water and bad water being reticulated through council pipes. Well, as promised, the government's going to scrap that. And they have created a way, it seems to me, in which the funds needed for, if you like, the catch-up on water infrastructure can be raised. But, we're told $1.2 billion was wasted in turning around this policy. So I thought to get to the guts of it, because it's very emotive, and as you know, we have a press gallery that seems hell-bent on bringing down the government. I thought the best thing we could do would have a chat with the minister who is steering through all these changes. That is the local government minister, Simeon Brown, who joins us on the phone now. Minister, welcome to the program. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Good morning, Sean.
All right, first up, the repeal of the legislation. How involved a process is that? When does it happen?
Well, we started the legislative process yesterday under urgency just after question time. The third reading started just before the House rose, and so it should be completed by 10 o'clock this morning. Okay,
and the bill basically says all the new structures for Three Waters and the legislation for them, that's all over.
That's right. So we're getting rid of Labor's 10 mega-entity co-governed bureaucratic approach to trying to address the water issues facing our country. We're restoring council ownership of their water infrastructure. And as we outlined on Monday, we're now starting work on implementing our policy, Local Water Done Well, to support councils to be able to have a financially sustainable approach to make the significant investments they need to make in water infrastructure.
All right. What is the time frame on your new model?
So we have a first piece of legislation in through Parliament by the middle of this year. That will provide councils support in terms of setting up council-controlled organisations between councils and to have some other transitionary provisions. It will also require councils to put forward their plans on how they're going to be financially sustainable in terms of the provision of water. By the end of this year, we'll introduce a second bill to Parliament, which will have a full new CCO model for councils around water delivery.
Okay, what's for us mere mortals, what's a CCO?
Yeah, sorry, a council-controlled organisation. So effectively, the ability for councils to set up water entities between councils. They can then ensure that the money raised from water users is ring-fenced to be then used to borrow and invest in water infrastructure.
You said they can ensure. Will they be required to ensure that money's ring-fenced?
Correct. They will be required to ensure that money is ring-fenced into water infrastructure and delivery in their communities. Ultimately, one of the big issues for those councils where there has been challenges in terms of water delivery is we're not seeing the ring fencing of those revenues back into those pipes. Councils spending on the nice to haves, not the must haves. And so we want to make sure that councils have the tools to be able to, and also the regulatory boundaries to make sure that money is being invested wisely.
All right. And from what I understand, you believe a number of councils, smaller councils, will come together because they've got common interest and common catchment.
Yes.
They will come together. They will form one company to cover many councils maybe and be owned by many councils.
Yes.
And that company will be able to, for financial reasons which are beyond my pay grade, will be able to raise debt at a level that councils individually wouldn't have been able to get some stuff moving and spend for some fix up and maintenance.
Yeah, that's right. So by joining together as a number of councils, so for example, the councils in the Hawke's Bay are quite motivated and very keen to set up a council-controlled organisation for the region quite quickly. That organisation will then be able to leverage those revenues and borrow to be able to make long-term investments and spread the cost of what are long-term investments. Pipes in the ground are long-term investments. Spread the cost of those over a long period of time, so it's not up to ratepayers of today to be fully paying that significant cost.
I imagine also those organisations are removed somewhat by the 3-yearly cycle of election, which can interfere in good commercial decision-making or planning.
Correct. So the reforms that we pass at the end of this year will set in place some requirements to ensure that the decisions made by those councils are separate from the decisions of the councillors and the mayors. Obviously, they'll still own the assets, but the decisions we made based on the commercial reality, and there'll be economic regulation in place to make sure that those decisions are made as efficiently as possible, as cost effectively as possible, so that the investment, just like our gas pipes, electricity networks, our telecommunication networks, are regulated to make sure that investment's done as cost effectively as possible for consumers.
All right. Will there be any requirement for those companies or organisations to have representation of any particular ethnic group on them?
No.
Or have specific consultation with any community groups?
No. Ultimately, councils will lead the consultation requirements. We want to make sure it's streamlined across councils. At the moment, one of the issues when a council is setting up a council-controlled organisation, if they want to do a joint one, they have to do individual consultation requirements in their local communities. We want to make that one single consultation across the region. But ultimately, no, we will not be mandating co-governance into these entities. We're removing co-governance from the delivery of water. We want this to be based on what makes economic sense and to ensure we get the long-term investment New Zealanders need.
Which is not to say, in instances where water resources or waterways are underclaimed by, say, the Waitangi Tribunal, that these CCOs will not have to negotiate or talk to interested iwi bodies regarding those issues.
No, and of course, as you know, Sean, a number of treaty settlements have taken place which do have impacts, and of course, those organisations, as councils and government have to do today, have to consult or have to work through those issues. But we will not be mandating a co-governed entity in terms of the service delivery. When it comes to the issues around consents or drawing water, obviously there is already legal requirements in place. They'll have to go through those processes, but we're not going to be having a 50-50 co-governed entities as the last government was proposing.
All right. Why not?
Well, quite simply, we believe that public services should be delivered on the basis of need, not race.
Yeah.
We believe that these are entities which serve all New Zealanders. That is the job, to make sure they are delivering the services New Zealanders need. We already have treaty settlements in place. We already have a range of responsibilities that government and councils have to undertake in terms of respecting and upholding treaty responsibilities and settlement rights. But in terms of co-governing these entities, actually we believe that councils are elected. They have a mandate. They're the ones who make those decisions. Mayors and councils are elected to make those decisions, just like government is elected to make decisions on behalf of New Zealanders and are ultimately responsible.
All right. These CCOs, how many do you imagine will be created?